Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Niko, and joining with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. I hope you guys are all doing well out there as well. And we're here to talk about another week of comics here. Always look forward to these talks. So basically, this week we're going to be talking about the new comics that came out for the week of January 28th, 2026. And this, of course, is episode 215 of Comic Shop Talk. It's a big number, Chris. Sometimes I can't believe it myself whenever I see that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as always. This is our weekly comic book review show. You can tune in and see us talk about this week's comics, and then we give you our ratings and reviews on them. You can hit us up in the comments. You can let us know what you thought of certain books. And spoiler warning as well. Be forewarned, we are going to be talking about what happens in the books. We're going to be showing off some of the art in order to properly rate these things and talk about them. So if you're worried about that, you can read your books and then come back and watch it at any time. We got over 215 episodes of this and other comic book related content in our playlist, as well as all kinds of different stuff in our playlist, all kinds of different shows, over 1,000 videos, Chris, on the Late Night Chat Network YouTube channel. So yeah, again, it's your first stop for pop culture talk, all kinds of talk, Chris, all kinds. All right. With that being said, though.
All right, well, let's talk comics.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. First up on the docket here today, we got Iron Man #1 by Joshua Williamson and Carmen Carnero on art. I got the Ryan Stegman cover, which is a wraparound, I think. I got it up on the art here, so we can show that off here in a moment. Yeah,
I just got the A cover. That's a wraparound as well.
Yeah, that's the one. I got that. Oh. I got that as well, the Iron Man. Yeah, the A cover, Stegman. But what did you think of this, Chris?
Well, I'm a little dicey with Iron Man. He's been hit and miss, and he's been one of the kind of comics that have been rebooted like crazy at least these last few years. And I wasn't too pleased with this beginning when they're kind of just rehashing his whole start. But then it turns out to be, I guess, Madame Mask and her AIM cronies trying to recreate or something, like recreate a Tony Stark or whatever. And then I guess she figures out that perhaps she needs some smarter people. And then it kind of goes into the main story where I guess Pepper Potts is there, and then they have the Tony Stark Awards, and he thinks the awards are for himself until he realizes in the last minute that this was something he did a long time ago to almost encourage up-and-coming scientists to kind of, I guess, honor them and fund them, basically. And then I guess Madame Mask goes up to the party to steal some of these people, and I guess she pulls a fast one as they're trying to chase down, or as I think as she's kind of distracting them, I guess, with some life model decoys. They went in and took sort of all these honorees, let's say. So it's, and I know, and then at the end, there's a bit of a swerve there where the Avengers show up, and it looks like they're trying to take down Tony Stark for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not a bad beginning.
I liked it. I thought it was a solid start. Got an interesting idea that they kind of threw out there for the premise of it, with this whole Tony Stark award and like them trying to recreate their own Iron Man from like plucking these people that he's identified as future Tony Stark people. I like that as the plot so far. The art was good. I like Madame Mask. She's got a history with him as well. So, all that was good. The one thing, though, I noticed about this book, and I think we were chatting about it the other day, was that, like, the way that he's written, though, Joshua Williamson is basically making this like the Robert Downey Jr. version of the character. And I feel like some of the other runs that we've been getting previous to this weren't as like identifiable to be that. This very much felt like that, at least to me, in some of the like the dialogue, maybe, or just like that version, even like his whole thing with like Pepper Potts and like that whole thing. I don't know. I just felt like, not that here's the thing, that's like my favorite version of Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, of course, right? So I'm not mad at it, but it's like it kind of seemed fairly obvious to me, at least reading this, that that's what he was going for, right? So I don't know. I just feel like it's been a while since I've read one that like you could tell that they were going for that, especially because he hasn't really been in the movies lately. So take that for what you will. But otherwise, I thought this was a solid start. I'm definitely going to continue reading for now. We'll see. Also, this guy, isn't that Buddy from the Thunderbolts? This person with the, or was that supposed to be Madam Mask there?
I don't think that's supposed to be Madam Mask. I don't know who that is, really.
That looks like the guy from the Thunderbolts. What's his name? The leader of the Thunderbolts that turned out to be like a villain in the initial run. Hold on. Thunderbolts leader. I forgot his name. Captain something yeah, it was originally Baron Zemo in disguise, like in the original Thunderbolts team. But I forgot like his name. Yeah, Zemo was the one that led them, but I forget what he was like. He was trying to like play it off that he was
play off as a hero.
Yeah, that's what that costume is, that right there. Like that's who that character was. So it looked like he's kind of in the mix here too. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. Because yeah, I was about to say it's not Madam Mask, but it's like they really made no reference to that person sneaking around in that scene, watching all this go down. So I was trying to figure out like if they were going to bring it up again, but I don't feel like they ever did in this comic. So yeah, I don't know. It was a solid start though. I guess we'll see what happens, but let me just jump to the end here. You said that the Avengers show up. I forgot about that. But oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, they usually have a problem with what Tony does, right?
Well, at least they're giving us a familiar Iron Man. You know, they're not kind of going to the trend with some of the other solo issues where, you know, you're going to stick Iron Man in a situation where, you know, he's not really the way he is or something. You know, it's sort of, they're giving us a familiar Iron Man. I think the art's decent, and I'll give this first arc a chance at least.
Yeah, I'm in it for the first one for sure. What'd you rate this?
I'll give it a 3.75, I think.
Yeah, I agree, but it's verging on a 4. I just need a little bit more. Like, it's a solid start though. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what happens next. Next up, we got Punisher Red Band number 5 as this miniseries concludes. I got 2 covers on this one. I got the I guess this is the A cover. And then I got this this variant here.
Yeah, I got my A cover here. Ooh, that's a nice variant.
Yeah, this is George Fornes or Jorge Fornes. Yeah, I got that one. I really like that one because it's like the classic costume there, stark black and white. What'd you think of this, Chris?
I had to break the seal to read this one. But I think it was worth it. It's a good story. You know, this is the last. I think it's the last issue of this series here. And everything's kind of coming together. Where you have, I think in the beginning, you got Frank Castle being chased by the police, and the police are calling in, you know, basically the whole team to chase him down. And it looks like Frank Castle sort of gave up Kingpin's address, saying he was there. So Tombstone is bringing his whole crew in there to try and, I guess, to get the Punisher, thinking he's there, but he's actually taking down Kingpin. So Kingpin sees what's going on. He's ready to battle, and then Frank Castle basically he brings the police behind him, and just chaos ensues. And during that chaos, Kingpin has a showdown with or Punisher has a showdown with the Kingpin, and of course, you know they're going to that trope. Okay, that trope. Let's drop the guns. Let's fight this mano a mano. And I'm like, oh no way. But then Punisher does what Punisher does.
2 Mac 10s. He's busted out 2 Uzis and shot him down. It was fantastic.
He just blows up. So I'm glad that was. I thought that was a great scene there.
Right there.
And then, of course, I know there's some people run over by his garbage truck. So I guess you're getting a bit of extra violence in there. But as a Red Band, I don't think any of this violence here is like crazy over the top. You know, I thought there's worse stuff just coming out of Image or Dark Horse just in the regular issues. But besides the point, I guess now Tombstone is trying to chase down that cop, and looks like Tombstone's about to off the cop. And of course, Punisher shows up there and he starts plugging him with a few bullets. And then finally we get the showdown there where he's got the gun on basically a Tombstone's head, and the cop says, "Oh no, we got to save him for justice and for the courts to decide." And then she's like, "I should do this to you, but you saved my life, so I'll give you a pass on this one." And it looks like all the carnage is over. But then the Punisher, I guess he tracks down Microchip. And I guess in the earlier parts, Microchip was key in the Kingpin kind of controlling him. And I know it's Microchip looks like he's in a bad spot there too. Like he's pretty much a prisoner. And
yeah,
I know what Frank Castle was up to there. But he scares the bejesus out of him. And if he pulled the trigger, though, I would have thought that would have been like super crazy if they did that.
Well, I think Microchip, like I can't recall at this point, but I'm pretty sure Microchip like screwed him over somehow at some point. So that's why, like,
yeah, I think he was the one that sort of helped punish or helped the Kingpin.
No, but that was against his will. Like, I
still did it.
That's true. So but then I guess he realized that he'd rather use him for his advantage and leaves him alive and basically takes him with him at the end of this comic, which I'm sure is going to lead into the ongoing series that Benjamin Percy's writing with him, right? Which I'm all for. I actually think that personally, I'm pro Microchip, like helping the Punisher. I think it actually makes a lot of sense that he needs somebody like that. I'd rather have him involved than not, because I've read both. I've read stories without Microchip, and I've read stories with Microchip, and I'd rather Microchip be helping him, like as the inside man guy in the chair. Like he's like one of the first.
That's a crazy way to start your new relationship, though. Having that bawling his eyes out when you put a gun in his freaking between his teeth.
He says, you fuck around, this is what's gonna happen, right?
That is one crazy way to start the relationship, but I guess we'll see. But I thought that was a letdown. If you're going to push us that far, or if you're going to push the scenes that far, you got to follow through. But they did. But yeah, that's not a bad comic, though.
No, I liked it. I'm looking forward to Benjamin Percy writing the ongoing based off this miniseries. I thought it was solid. I really enjoyed it through and through. I love the Kingpin part, like you mentioned, just to kind of see him running around with a couple Uzis again and shooting people up. I dug it. I thought the tone was good. I thought the art was good. I liked it. This is a solid Punisher miniseries, and I'm really looking forward to the ongoing now with Benjamin Percy. I think Benjamin Percy, this works to his like this is in his wheelhouse, this character, honestly. Like I think the action, which is Benjamin Percy's, like I feel like the thing he excels at is more like action-based comics. As opposed to like plot or like things like that. I think he's good at like cooking up interesting ideas for a story and kind of seeing them play out, but not necessarily like he's not like a plot first, like well-written comic writer, like a Hickman or you know what I mean? Or like maybe like even Snyder when he's doing an absolute Batman. Like he kind of is like a little bit like lighter, let's say, on the plot and dialogue than some. But I think he's a good idea, man, and I'm looking forward to see what he does with the ongoing series. Because I think Jigsaw is supposed to show back up in that series, if I'm not mistaken. So it's all like classic Punisher characters that are back in the mix, honestly. Which it's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen these people, so I'm all for it. Microchip's in the mix. Yeah, get
a Battle Van back.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 4. I like the violence and I like the ending.
4 out of 5.
3.75 for the series.
I'd probably go 4 for both. I say 4 for the ending and 4 for the series. I quite liked it. Overall, I thought it was really solid. I think you missed out on reading one of the best issues of this series.
I missed the last one.
That was great. I think that was my favorite of the week when it came out, right? Yeah. Or it may have been, or no, you know what? I don't think it was, because I think that was during the holidays, and I don't think I read it in time for the show. It would have been if it was. It may have, but I can't remember if it was or not. But anyways, regardless, it was pretty good. All right, so then we're going to go over some DC KO tie-in issues this week with Superman 34.
Oh, I got a nice variant cover for this. I got a Super Saiyan Superman here.
Oh, nice. Let me see that. Hold on. That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Very nice.
I have to get that cover. When I saw that there, I think when we are going through the solicitations, that's when that decision crossed my mind here. But for this story here, this is still a lot more of the Superman Prime and what's that, Lois Lane with the powers and stuff. I think we have the dark side, the Legion of this super supreme society or whatever that came from the future to stop them. I think what happens here, Superboy or Superman Prime, he takes off to try and kind of figure what's going on in this KO tournament to try and sort of get in there. And then while he's away, that Dark Side Legion kind of comes in, and they're giving the boots to Lois Lane and everybody. And Superboy Prime kind of comes in and to save the day. Wasn't bad, Then there's some bit of the KO tie-in. I think they had a few panels there with Lex and Superman just going, "Oh, you knew at the end it would be us here," but it didn't really push any of the DCKO main storyline further ahead. It just kind of referenced it. It's still not a bad comic, but we'll see how it goes here. From what I hear, I think this Superman is going to be kind of more focused on Superman Prime for the next little while, I guess, after the DCKO. So I'm not too keen on that, but still, I think we still have Mark Waid doing this, or not Mark Waid.
Joshua Williamson as well.
I thought we had more there still, but anyways, yeah, I thought the art's decent, and yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I liked it. I like this issue. I like Superman Prime as a character, and I like that he references that he's in a comic book and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a little bit gimmicky, and I wouldn't say he says that kind of stuff as much in this issue. He mentions it once, about well, this will happen, then we'll be able to wrap up this story or something. He says something that alludes to that he's in a comic at one point, but I think that less is more for that kind of thing with this character personally. That being said, I thought the whole thing with the Superman robots was pretty cool. How they think that they're Superman, so therefore they're gonna do what they think is Superman would do in this situation, and that whole
that same thing too. I thought they're kind of just floating around Earth, and they end up rescuing, I guess, the Justice or the Royal Flush Gang.
Yeah,
that was a nice touch in there too.
Yeah, so that that whole storyline and that whole thing that they were exploring with the Superman bots, I thought that was pretty cool. That was probably my favorite part of this whole thing. But yeah, otherwise it was a solid issue. I think like you said, if the main focus is going to shift to this character, I guess we'll see how that goes. But they seem to still have a through line of storylines that are going through this book, despite the event going on, right? That time trapper keeper thing that was going on previous to this storyline, the KO stuff and everything in this book. So, it tracks. It makes sense that all these things are happening here. So, it still does feel like the same book. Superman's just not the main focus at the moment, right? So what'd you give this?
I got 3.75.
Yeah, I agree. And then Justice League Unlimited number 15. Another tie.
This Justice League, I don't know. I think this whole series has sort of lost its way. I guess here the Justice Tower or the whatever that, I don't even know what they call their little flying spaceship or their moon satellite. It's losing power, so they're losing communication with whatever's left of the people that they're trying to get off Earth. And they realize that there's some portal, and Airwave comes out of the portal. I don't know if that's a big reveal or something that's supposed to be shocking. If it is, well, it isn't. So, and then they go into their plan to do whatever they do. There's a lot of stuff with that devil thing that they're still all in hell, and it looks like that whole crew that went down there.
Neuron, yeah,
that Superman, he's gone. So basically, it's just Mr. Terrific. And he's got his master plan that he didn't want to tell anybody because he's worried that the devil guy's going to hear about it. And when he gets there, basically he tells the devil or with Neuron that okay, this is the deal. You let everybody live, and then I'll take their place. And I'm Mr. Terrific, and there's ways that I can sort of elevate you that you probably haven't even thought of. And it looks like Neuron thinks about it for a second, but then at the end, I guess the spoiler there at the end is too bad. Somebody already bargained, made this bargain with me already, and turns out Owl Woman or whatever is the backstabber.
Yeah.
Ooh, shocking.
Yeah, this story started off interesting, and at this point, I don't really care all too much about like what's happening with this story. And I think like you made a good point about Justice League's kind of lost its way, this unlimited book a little bit, because unfortunately, like this is like one of those books that's going to tie into anything that's going on in the DC universe. So it doesn't really have a story of its own. I feel like very little of it outside of the main events of the DCU. That's basically the sole purpose of this Justice League title now, it seems like. So I mean, and then this whole arc, like Superman, with kind of putting in Superman Prime in his place because he's part of DCKO, they use this as a story and excuse to bring these time displaced versions of all these different characters from different dimensions, like basically subbing in for the Justice League as a result of them all being busy, and that their whole adventure through hell here has kind of been the focus of this one. But yeah, it started out as is kind of interesting, but then at this point, I don't really care. It's not holding a lot of weight for me, and what is this book even at this point? Like you said, I don't know. It was fine. So yeah, that's the big reveal there at the end. What'd you give this?
Yeah, 3.5.
Yep, 3.5 out of 5. All right, then you got a couple here you read here, Chris. Capes number 3.
Oh, Capes number 3. I just read this one online. So I think here we have, it starts out with kind of just going through some of the lists or some of the characters that are either getting together. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with these Capes world. This girl with the boxing gloves, you kind of find out her, kind of a bit of her origin or how she became a superhero. And it turns out her grandfather stole the gloves from this boxing villain that was defeated by Thor Man or something. I don't know what they call him, but whoever it is, that Thor there, that's now seems to, they seem to be having a bit of a connection. And then there's some other wacky just trysts or liaisons that they have going on. They're like some, not Captain America, but some like general guy. One of the new Capes is sleeping with his wife, and then the general or whatever, he comes back from his business trip, whatever, early, and he's like all freaking out because he's in bed with his wife, and then he just opens the door, oh hey babe, what's going on? Oh, who's your new friend? And then they kind of just explain the situation. He goes, oh well, I'm beat, I'm gonna have to go to sleep, so you better scooch on over. What the heck's going on? So I thought just some weird writing. But then I guess in the main story, it kind of goes back to a day at the Capes office. It seems to be a quiet day. And it seems like some sort of Nazi cyborg Hulk was awakened. And he takes down he goes into the Capes headquarters and just starts, wreaking havoc there. I think he's ripped a few people apart. And there's some big brain character that seems to be pretending that he's been losing his powers, and it turns out he hasn't been losing his powers. He's been kind of playing possum almost. And his plan has been always to support the Capes, or to ensure the Capes get the proper funding. Is that he has been sort of manufacturing crises for them to save, so make them look better. And then basically this is where he reveals himself. He goes, look, I'm going to be the villain now, but on the plus side is now you should get more funding, but don't come after me. And he pretty much wipes the floor with all the Capes heroes here, and then he just takes off. And and then it kind of comes back a month later. A lot of these Capes were on the mend for a bit, and they're just kind of picking up the pieces after that. It's a weird story, I'll say that. It's not written the Marvel or the DC way, but it's a fun story. So it keeps you on your toes. I'd give it a 3.75.
Okay. And then you got Final Boss number 3. This is like 90s image kind of vibe area. This is all like super. You literally have the superhero like wing of Image Comics here coming up at these next 3 picks. Yeah, this Final Boss number 3, and then you got Youngblood coming up. So yeah, what'd you think of this?
Final Boss number 3. I'm just buying this because it's got Tyler Kirkman as the artist. I've always loved he also has a lot of exclusive variant covers. So, when he was doing this, I thought, I got to see what it's all about. And there's some sort of tournament fighting going on here. And this Final Boss guy, every time he either beats somebody that's in this tournament, he kind of powers up a little bit. And here he's fighting some, I don't know, like some road pig or road hog or something. But it's not really in a tournament. Like, one of the pages make it look like, they're fighting in some sort of arena. But I don't know, they just kind of seem to run into each other and they start scrapping it out. He wins, he gets the juice, and we'll see what's up next for him. It's not inspired writing, but it's fun to read. I was expecting a bit more on the, it's nice splash pages, but I thought we'd get some more art in there. I was expecting more, but it's okay. I'd give it a 3.5.
Okay. And then Youngblood number 3, Chris.
Youngblood 3.
I don't know if I have I don't have the art for this one, but
this story here, that's starting to get some speed. It's starting to kind of get some legs, I guess. The Youngblood team has been fighting the Xerxes character, and the whole time they've been fighting him, he's saying, he's been always offering the Youngblood team to join him because there's something coming that nobody's aware of. And where the story starts, they're so off-world on some other planet where there's like some Guardians of the Galaxy type of Youngblood characters, and they're trying to broker some peace deal in the galaxy. I don't know what the heck that's all about. But anyways, these character comes in. They're called the Keep, and basically they look like Celestials or like some Galactus type character, and they're about to threaten the world that he's in, and then these Keep characters go, "Oh, your planet's too insignificant for us. We're looking for the third rock, or the third rock from the sun, basically." And then you realize that these celestial type characters are this Keep they're heading to Earth. And then while they're on their way, the Youngblood team is still fighting the Xerxes character, this Bad Rock. Xerxes kind of kicked the hell out of him. He's back. And they have some more reinforcements to really try and throw the Xerxes character down. And they are kind of laying the beats down on him, but he's still getting the upper hand. And I guess that Shaft character, his father shows up, and he looks a lot like Cable, and he has those time slides and everything. And basically he grabs Xerxes and gets out of there. And while this team is kind of, I guess, licking their wounds after that battle, now this Keep has showed up. So they've been revealed themselves that they're here to enslave the world. So we'll see where that goes. I think the art's decent here. I like the story. I like the way the story's written. Maybe not so much maybe not like the writing itself, though. But I do like the style that, that everything's sort of happening and it's moving, and it's not sort of following that the 5-issue arc.
Yeah.
So I got to give it credit for that. And I think I'd give this a 4. It's
nice.
I think I'm enjoying this more than most people are, and maybe I'm a little heavy-handed with the scoring, but I do like it.
No, hey, that's all good. I mean, clearly it has its fans, or else it wouldn't be coming out, right? Like there's a lot of people that wanted to see the return of Youngblood for a while now. And then finally you got Harley Quinn and Elvira number 4. I got a copy here, but I didn't get to reading mine. So why don't you let us know what happened here?
Yeah, so I think this one here, they're on their way to, I think the last issue they were on their way to Count Dracula's castle. And I guess they're in there. None of this is, earth-shattering stories going on here. It's just fun stories, that kind of play off things. I think there's a few dream sequences where Harley's imagining things that aren't happening. And oh yeah, I think there's there's the wives of Dracula that are there, and they're not too pleased with Harley and Elvira being there. So they're trying to put the boots to them, and of course, chaos ensues. It was still a fun read. No complaints. Reading this, I don't feel like I'm wasting any time, and it's enjoyable. I'd give it a 3.75.
Nice. Yeah, no, I just didn't have time to read it here this week, but yeah, I echo your comments about the book there. It's just fun. Good old fun. What else we got here? Then I got Void Rivals 26. Where's my issue here? Okay, so yeah, this is part 2 of 6 in this Quintesson War. This one kind of kicked it into high gear finally here. Well, I mean, this is only the second issue of this, I guess, story currently, but I felt like it started off really slow, and majority of this issue was also very slow. I don't have the art for this one either, but at a certain point of this issue, like you could see that how both sides of these characters, Derek and the woman that's with the other alien race, I forget her name, they both are getting bombarded by these Quintesson people, like in separate situations. And there was a really interesting part with them trying to like come and attack like the woman characters people. And again, there's like a really interesting scene where you see Derek, because he was the pilot, the fighter pilot character. He's kind of like, in space, and I guess something happens to his plane there, his ship, and he has to eject out of there. And then he's using the hand droid to like help him. So find like somebody else, like another ship that he can go, get onto, because he's just floating through space and he's running out of oxygen. And so there's all these like interesting parts in this issue where, now we're finally, seems like after the conclusion of the last storyline, it's picking up, and, we're finally actually feeling some of the effects of this whole war storyline here in this one. So, I don't know if this one's coming out every 2 weeks like the G.I. Joe book was. Maybe it is. I wouldn't be opposed to that, because I think this one definitely needs to pick up the pace in terms of like the storyline. At this point, I just feel like it's required reading of like something that's going to happen in the Energon universe. But if I'm being honest, if it wasn't invested with the Energon universe stuff, I may have dropped this at this point. I don't even know what's going on with Skuxoid. It's been a while since we've seen that character. I was thinking about him in here. I think he was mentioned in this issue, but we didn't see him. So I'm like, whenever things seem to get a little boring in this book, whenever we had some Skuxoid in the issue, I was happy about that. But now, like, his presence, like him not being in the book, is greatly felt at this point. So like, I need him in the mix. Like, so I guess we'll see what happens. But
maybe just holding him back. He's gonna come save the day or something.
He might have a big part to play in this Quintesson War. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I'll give it a 3.75 out of 5. I still enjoy it, but if it like I said, if it wasn't like a part of the Energon universe stuff, I may have dropped it by now, but I'm still invested in all the Energon stuff. So here I am. And then you got Creepshow Volume 4, number 5. This issue had a really good first story, and then the second story had a really good artist and not so much of a great story, which is normally the case on a lot of these issues. Joshua Williamson, a big week this week of us talking about him. He wrote this first story in here with Andrea Milana on art, and Trad Moore wrote and drew the second story. Trad Moore, I'm a really big fan of his art. Like, it's kind of interesting to see how his art's evolved. Like, he's very like abstract and weird looking art now, but he also has been writing his own stuff lately, and I don't find him to be a great writer. So that was just a good one to look at. I read it, but it wasn't all that much. Left me, didn't leave me feeling anything really. This first one was kind of fun though. Like, it was about this scientist who's basically he created something where he can take parts of things, like using, like, I guess his computer, like to port them in and combine them. So like he starts off, you see him like combining different car parts like into one car and doing things like that. He's like created this invention that he can basically just like rip them out of time essentially and like bring them to the lab. And like he's like, okay, I'm gonna create something with like I'm gonna create a woman for. It's kind of like weird science almost. Like I'm gonna create a woman for myself, and then you see him like put some like bimbo woman together, and he's like, this woman lacks intelligence or whatever. I need it to have be as smart intellectually as I am and the looks as well. So then all of a sudden, once he puts that information in, his actual brain ports out of his head into like whatever, like this next person that he creates. And then he basically explodes. Like the guy, I guess it's too much for it to take, like whatever he's concocted here, and like his invention basically explodes. He ends up killing himself. It's like a weird little one-off story, as these ones tend to be. Between that and the art in the second story, I'll give this a 3.75. But I think this is the last issue of this volume. And then I think we're going to get that Super Creep show coming up soon as like another one shot. So, I've enjoyed these, but if this was the last one after like they do that one shot, I'm not going to be upset by it. I think, I've had my fill of these short stories. I think they're pretty good overall. Anthologies are tough. I've enjoyed these more than I have not enjoyed them, but it's still a horror anthology. Take it or leave it. I'll give this a 3.75 though. This was decent. And then Absolute Flash number 11. This story's going places now. Basically, Wally has ended up at the compound where his father worked, and that they had held him prisoner. And then you found out that the Reverse Flash, I guess, is like him as well as Barry Allen were transported into like this other dark dimension. And he is able to tap into it and go into it. Like this is where the Speed Force comes from in this story of the Flash, the Absolute Universe one. And Barry Allen's just basically like a ghost in there. Like he's not able to leave. He basically is just like energy essentially in there. Like he's able to chat with him while he's there and talk about it. But he basically lets him know, like, I can't leave here. I'm unfortunately stuck here. And then he tells them about two other people that access this same place for the Speed Force powers, which was Jay Garrick. He mentions Jay Garrick, which is like the oldest Flash, like GSA Flash with like the tin hat. We've never seen him in the Absolute Universe yet, but he's mentioned here. And then the other one is Eobard Thawne, which is the Reverse Flash, of course, and the one that's the bad guy, even in the Absolute Universe. They've talked about him already. So he's explaining all this stuff to him, for Project Olympus here, and then I guess he has to find a way back out of this dimension now. And meanwhile, all of the rogues are helping him storm the compound here and get and help his father, who's been taken prisoner there by his organization because he's not playing ball because he's worried for his son. And he's basically, they're all like science experiments, these guys. They all have powers as a result of what happened here. And by the end of this, it looks like Wally West is back. And I guess he's going to take care of business here. Now he's out of the dimension here at the end. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm really liking the story now. Again, like most of these Absolute books, it's taken a long time to kind of really shift into gear here, and but now 11 issues in, with the next issue being the last one of this particular storyline, this is kind of the MO for these Absolute books. I feel like 12 issues in, which I know sounds ridiculous, but this is really where these stories have started to take off. I feel like for Batman, for Wonder Woman. I mean, Batman was during the arc at the end of like 12 issues or so when it really was like, okay, yeah, this is really good now. But they've taken their time to kind of establish these characters, and I'm liking the direction of this that Jeff Lemire is doing. So I'll give this a 3.75 out of 5. But it could easily be a 4 as well. I'm starting to really dig the storyline here. And then Chris, continuing with the Absolute books, we got Absolute Batman 16 next. I got 2 covers for this one. Got the A cover, and then I got this Frank Cho variant as well here this week.
I think this A cover is freaking spot on. I love this cover.
It is great. Like even the word balloon of "Go to Hell," like that's
and like just looking at that alone makes you wonder what's going on here. You think he's telling her to go to hell. I love having freaking Batman, who's supposedly freaking huge in this universe to begin with, and you still have Wonder Woman towering over her or towering over him. And then with that word bubble, go to hell, and you might not notice it's a question mark, not an exclamation mark at the end. But anyways, for the issue, then what do we got? I think Batman early on here. Oh yeah, he's kind of just checking in with all his friends there, and they don't seem to be on board with him anymore. Like they're all beat up, and I think one of them's eating out through a straw. You can see Harvey Dent. You can see the beginnings of Two-Face there. Who else is it?
Is that okay? That's what I was going to ask you. Is the one that's on the bed supposed to be like Black Mask or something? I'm just looking at his like face, but I don't know like the fact that he's like in the bed like that though. I that one is the one I couldn't figure out because obviously the other one's Two-Face, but like the only thing
Penguin or something.
Is that supposed to, oh, is that who that was? I can't remember what the name of that one was. That I guess that makes sense. Even like his body, I guess, like the way it is. Like I don't know. The mouth was starting to look like it looked like almost like Black Mask. Like, but that's I don't know if that's
already introduced that character here, and he wasn't part of his. Those are like all his 5 friends or whatever.
Oh yeah, because he's calling him Oz here.
Yeah, so that's probably. That's
Oswald Cobblepot. Yeah, you're right. So that is, I guess, supposed to be the Penguin. Yeah, okay. I couldn't. The face, like the way that it's messed up, made me think of Black Mask, like the way he kind of had his like it's almost skull like his teeth there. But yeah, you're right. That is supposed to be like the Penguin or whatever this version of the Penguin is. But yes, that is him. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, that was cool. Messed up though. I feel bad for these guys.
Yeah, well, it's not too subtle what they're doing here, but basically you can see the beginnings of why all these people are going to hate Batman.
Yeah,
or why they all hate Bruce. But anyways, after that sort of introduction there, you have Batman on the motorcycle, or kick-ass. But Batman summons Wonder Woman. I guess in the last time they met, he gave her like some mark of hectate to summon her whenever he wants for whatever reason. So he calls her up, and I guess he thought that maybe she might have some ideas on how to turn Wayland or Croc back into a human. And then she goes, "Oh, I know one person, but we have to go on this journey here, and that's like a journey for weeks, it seems." And he goes, "Oh, I can't go away for weeks," but I guess time, of course, works different when I guess they end up going to hell, which is where she takes him to meet some demon that may have had something to give that he would have to give freely to Batman that might be able to help Killer Croc or help Wayland. And then they have their little journey together, and I guess they kind of learn a bit about each other. So I thought that was fun to read. He asked about why the horse wasn't there or why Pegasus wasn't there. And, she kind of mentions, things that fly here aren't the greatest. And she's like, "Oh, I don't think Pegasus likes you all that much anyways." Yeah, I thought that was like a fun little blurb that comes into play later on. But as they move through, I think they run into a few people and they kind of take care of business, doing what they do. And I think when they do finally meet the final boss there, I figure it's some sort of devil. He throws Batman sort of off a bridge, and of course Pegasus comes up out of nowhere to save him. So I thought that was a nice moment. And as they're battling, I think that demon sort of throws like a spear or a sword at Wonder Woman, and then Batman gets in the way, and he kind of takes the bullet for Wonder Woman. And it seems that was what the demon had to give, or that what Batman had to kind of get from the demon, that he could only give away, not take. And then I think it cuts the scene there a few times with Alfred trying to feed Killer Croc. I thought that was fun in there. He's just all frustrated, kind of yelling at him. "I don't know what you want. Take the feet, get out of here." So that's good stuff there. Like for a one-off issue, I think there's a lot of good things going on here. I thought it was a great issue.
Yeah, agreed. Really fun issue. Great Nick Dragata art. Honestly, like the better part of this little two-parter between like the issue starting in Wonder Woman between this crossover and then this one basically concluding that storyline. Um, I also like how they mentioned in this how that thing that she gave him in Wonder Woman that he can basically summon her only works 3 times and then it won't. So that kind of is already basically letting you know that he's going to possibly be able to use that 2 other times within the run, which is kind of interesting. I really like how they made that the definitive, like, yeah, this will only work this many times, which I really hope that they follow up with that.
Yeah, and basically he did kind of come through because I know he's only works 3 times, so it must be something dire consequences.
Right.
And you think, well, you know, he's just chit-chatting with her, you know, it's not like a
right.
It's like a pager where he just paged someone, hey, what's up?
I just like that he said that there. Like, I'm like, I hope they stick to that. Like, that's like a thing because I'm like, why bother saying it if that's not going to be a thing you follow up on?
There might be a time where Batman's sort of on his last legs there. You just see him freaking scratch out or whatever the fucking doorway.
Yeah, that just seems like he's planting the seed for something down the road, right? Like, I'm like, there's no reason for him to have said that unless he has plans somewhere down the road or like when he hits a wall in terms of like his storytelling, he'd be like, oh, that's right. Like he's still got 2 things on that. Like, yeah, right. Like
I got a few free passes to get out of this.
I like that. So, yeah, I like this issue a lot. It was a lot of fun. I mean, but yeah, Dragata absolutely killed this issue. I thought it was really cool seeing him draw Absolute Wonder Woman in this as well, because that's really who I was looking forward to seeing draw this crossover. I mean, Hayden Sherman on the Wonder Woman book is fine. You don't get me wrong, but I love Dragata's art. So I was really looking forward to see him draw Absolute Wonder Woman. What'd you give this?
I might have to bump this up a bit. Good story, great art. I got to give it a 4.25.
Yeah, same. Good stuff. And then speaking of Absolute Wonder Woman, we got Absolute Wonder Woman 16 here.
You got a variant cover here.
Oh, nice. The Derek Chu one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad. I like the A cover here. So what's going on in here? I guess it's the aftermath of that maze stuff, it seems. He's trying to, I guess, relocate everybody. She's just stuck with the whatchamacallit, the Minotaur and I don't know, one of the fish people or something. And then you have some enough with these flashbacks though. At least they weren't the meat of the story here, so I didn't mind them, but they're not my favorite. But I think they have some villain here or something that's kind of building some people in a vault or something. They kind of touch on that a little bit. And this stuff with Steve, in Congress there. And basically, he renounces the U.S. Army to side with Wonder Woman. That's fine and dandy. And what do you have? Then there was some sort of Themyscira, artifact exhibit that she showed up to. And I don't know, she has some sort of stumble there after she takes a drink and she goes kind of back to her wild island life or memories. And I think it ends up with, I guess a team of villains coming to take out Wonder Woman there. And we also had was Zatanna leading the Suicide Squad? Is that what happened at the end there?
Yeah.
I don't know if they could have named this group the Suicide Squad. I think they would have been fine just with those villains there. Because there are some interesting villains in there,
Yes.
I do want to see Giganta, and Zatanna's in there. But they could have laid off the Suicide Squad title. They could have kind of kept that in the background, maybe reveal it later on. That's who they are.
Well, I think basically they're just the reason it's that is because there's an agency that's sending these people after her because they want to they don't trust Diana. That's.
But I don't think they need to be called the Suicide Squad.
I'm just saying that's usually the team that she puts together is the Suicide Squad when there's more of a government agency type of deal.
So it's probably almost an absolute Amanda Waller behind them or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why they had everybody imprisoned or they were messing experimenting on them like that other character that's in the mix here. I forget what the hell he was called. The dude that was like in that like she already fought one of these people like previously. I forget which character it was, but like he's in the background when they show up.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the character, but basically, yeah, this like she's already fought one of these people before, and then they showed up with Zatanna and tow here as well. So yeah, I'm liking the direction of the story. I thought this was a good issue. I think we've had a couple of lackluster ones. This person on the right, that's like in the green suit and that shit. Like we've seen that person before. She fought her before or him. I forget, but yeah. I guess we'll see what happens next. But I really thought this was a good issue. I think we've had a couple of lackluster issues, I feel like, leading up to this point after the last arc. But this was really good. I thought I'm interested to see where this goes. I like Zatanna, and I like this version of the character so far. Actually, it's interesting. So,
and I think that Hayden Sherman was dialed in this time too.
Yes, yeah, that last page that I just showed where they're both like kind of looking at each other. Yeah, it's excelling on these pages. What'd you give this?
I give it a 4. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it's a 4 out of 5. I like this has definitely been better than the last couple of issues. Like I'm interested to see where this goes now. The last couple after the last arc, they had like that little 2-parter. Like you said, they've been doing a lot of flashback stuff, letting you know about her as a character and her past and like this and that. But this was like, okay, let's see what we're cooking with here. Bring in these new characters. She's got like a rogues gallery now, almost. Like I'm interested to see where this heads. Detective Comics 1105. You mentioned you maybe read this one this week.
I read it. Maybe we can take the lead on this one. It's in the middle of his storyline still with whatever that poison that's in him, right?
Yeah. So basically in this one, it's the reveal finally of this guy, the villain that was been behind all this, that he was infected by, that's got like this sickness in him that he's dying from, or it's affecting him. It looks like they kind of have it under control now, but he's still infected by whatever the hell this guy, like this fear basically based.
It's a courage toxin. That's what it was, right?
It's sorry, what did you say?
Wasn't it some courage toxin? It's making everybody brave.
Yeah, but it's making like it's also
that's what's messing everybody up, because aren't all these people fighting?
Yes.
Wasn't there some scene like some issue or some scene where somebody's, I forget who it was, but they're kind of stepping up and they're even thinking to themselves, what am I doing here? I don't need to be doing this.
Yeah. But like the thing that's happening to Batman too, like he's had to like, he's been trying to fight this off like since he got sick like a couple of issues ago. And in this one, you get a flashback at the start of it, and it reveals that the person that's behind this is somebody that he reached out to as a kid after something horrible had happened. Like he lost his parents, and as Bruce Wayne and somebody who has that organization to help out children in need of doing this kind of stuff, and actually knowing what that's like because of what happened to his parents, there was like this kid who was basically like a shut-in, like that was afraid to leave the house, like after what had happened to his parents. So he reaches out as Bruce Wayne, and he tries to help him and, like show him a better way and try to like encourage him to like, we need you to like go and one day when you leave this house, like you need to make it better. I need you out there. Like Gotham, is a mess. And like, there's people like you that will make it better. And he encourages him, and he gives him a lot of like, hope for the future of like, being like a smart kid. It's similar kind of with the Tony Stark Foundation shit that we just saw in Iron Man 1 this week as well. But then like what you find out that, he hates Batman, but he likes Bruce Wayne. And obviously they're both one and the same, but he doesn't know that. And like, he's made it his business now as the bad guy in this story. We find out that's why he hates Batman for what I guess his part in things in Gotham and how he hasn't been able to make it better. So again, he's just one of these people that just doesn't believe in him and is basically made it his life, life's work now to like mess with him and all the Bat family and everything as a result. And then you also find out like he took him to like the gym, and he was learning how to box from Wildcat, and then Black Canary, I guess, apparently knocked him out, and that pissed him off, and it made him scared again. Like he's just a little wiener, this guy. So he just like he had some hard times, and he's not able to bounce back, and this is what's turned him into the villain that he is now. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add, but that's basically where we're at. This was the reveal issue of us finding out like where this guy's come from exactly.
I did like the story beat where Batman is like trying to stop him from revealing or from releasing this toxin to the city, and then you find out that he's like, Batman, sorry, I released this thing already 5 days ago. It's out there already. So I thought that was a nice twist in the story, because it's always like, you know, the Joker trying to reveal it or to release his Joker, whatever, his Joker poison into the water system. And, you know, they kind of checking that out, but it looks like he put it in the fog or something that swept over the city a few days earlier. So whatever's out there, it's already out there. So yeah, this is a pretty good issue. Now that we kind of were looking through it, I did enjoy this one.
This scene was really fun too, because Mr. Terrific, he's working in like the infectious disease kind of like area, like where they're like testing this thing like that he created and trying to figure out a cure for it. And meanwhile, he's got the Scarecrow there, like helping him out, because of course he knows a lot about fear toxins. And like at one point, like they're throwing ideas out there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I like that idea." Like Batman's gonna have to infect himself to like learn more about this. He's like, "Okay, this isn't good." The Scarecrow is agreeing with me here. Like it's like, I like how he's like in the mix and like actually helping them, because apparently this is somebody that he encountered as well. This kid, like. He's like one of these guys. That's the thing that happens with these Batman stories now, is that they bring these characters into the fold. The only ones that can outsmart Batman to a certain degree, or people that were in his life that we've never been introduced to in the comics. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that's
been a bit old too. Like, how many friends did this guy, Bruce Wayne, have when he was a kid?
Well, that's what Hush
is. You listen to the stories before, he had nobody, and now he had this friend here who turns out to be a super villain. Like.
Right. Well,
after a while, you got to think maybe Bruce Wayne's the problem.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, like this isn't a this was like a kid that he just apparently like, you know, that doesn't see eye to eye with him, that he tried to help. But
Hush.
But that's what Hush was. But Hush was the same like kind of deal. He was friends with them. And anyways, I'm liking this story though. As you know, I'm always kind of hyping up the Taylor book here, Detective Comics. I quite like where this is going. This was a good issue. What'd you give this?
I think I'm going to give it a 4 now. We've been talking about it. I did like this one.
Yeah, same. 4 out of 5. Drawing Blood number 10, the return of Drawing Blood after I feel like another couple of months. We didn't get an issue. We got that one issue that was like whatever his creation is in here, right? The Ninja Turtles creation. Yeah, but anyways, what'd you think of this, Chris?
I was hoping it'd be more of the stories we're getting at the beginning that kind of, you know, blend sort of reality and fantasy together. Like, I don't know when they're talking about this Broadway show, if this is supposed to be referencing that Spider-Man.
No, it's referencing The Last Ronin. No,
but I mean like having a Broadway show.
Oh, yes.
Spider-Man was on Broadway and that show just freaking collapsed.
Yes. No, that Spider-Man Turn Off the Lights or whatever it was called. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But no, but this is referencing like his whole idea for this Broadway play is the Last Ronin story that he did like a few years ago, right?
Yeah, I understand that part, but like for a Broadway show, we're going to bring that up. But anyways, this was more about the Broadway show. And I guess, you know, they had one show that was sort of ready to go. And now he's changed the whole plot around, and he tried to kind of keep that on the down low. And once, I guess the people that own the rights to these cats, they're upset that he's going to be sort of doing this Last Ronin type story with it, where I think they thought his rights don't allow him to do that. It's an okay story, but it's getting a little out there.
Yeah, well, there's only 2 more issues left for this series, so I do hope they bring it back home. But I agree with you. This wasn't my favorite issue, especially after the delays that we've experienced with this series. But overall, I've still really enjoyed this series. I just really hope that they these next couple of final issues have a bigger impact than this one did, because This one, yeah, this wasn't my favorite issue. Like you said, it was fine, but yeah, I think it's felt more personal before, and now it's like veering into
Now it's just a comic book story.
exactly. So other than the last Ronin thing, I didn't really recognize like any other kind of personal, but I guess we're coming up to probably the point now of his life where he is currently. Therefore, he's referencing things he's been working on at this moment. And Kevin Eastman doesn't have the trials and tribulations of that he did in the past, that I guess he had already worked those demons out during this series, right? So like at this point, it's like, it seems almost
the Lithuanian gang is still in the mix there somehow.
They are,
yes. They're going to show up near the end to mess things up.
Yeah. So what'd you give this?
I got a 3.5.
Yes, that's the rating I would give this. And then G.I. Joe 18. Got my issue here.
Yeah, it's got a variant cover here.
Oh, nice. I didn't even see that one. Nice one. Yeah.
Yeah, and the story, it's I guess it's all basically the story of Roadblock. And it's okay. I don't mind that. He seems to be a pleasant character, somebody I don't mind reading about. But I'm thinking the beginning, was that Hawk talking to Flint about trying to get kind of get the details of Roadblock? Because I think in the last issue it was revealed that Zatanna has been impersonating Hawk. And then you get a lot of the story, but I don't mind seeing Tomax and Zaymot there, kind of being the swarmy guys that they are. They're trying to buy Roadblocks, whatever, his food truck. But, they have some nefarious freaking intentions behind it. And, of course, he doesn't give in to them. And they show some scenes where other people that they've sent there to try and bribe him, basically, he just tosses them out. And then basically the Crimson Guard shows up to scare him up a bit, and then he just flips out. And they do kind of portray him as a bit of a powerhouse. Yeah, I think he flips one of the Jeep there, and then he grabs, and then that's it. He grabs that gun and just goes to town with that. So that was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I think it's the last few pages that sell it all. You see what happens with Cobra and Destro. Cobra's sort of licking his wounds. Destro's there kind of trying to, I don't want to say smooth things over, but kind of see what Cobra thinks he knows or how they're going to be. And, Cobra commanders, Destro or Lord Laird Destro, I think you're the only person I can call my friend. So Destro thinks he's, his plan to try and kill Cobra Commander might have gone unnoticed. But then I think you see Cobra Commander with some sort of hologram video when Major Blood and Destro were talking about trying to kill Cobra Commander. So it's fun to see sort of the infightings in the Cobra Commander regime. But at the same time, the G.I. Joe power structure isn't all that stable either. So it's crazy stuff going on there. It's good to see.
Yeah, I enjoyed this issue. I do think it's always funny in these things where like people try to like leave the life, and like this guy is in this Roadblock and he's like literally just got a cheese melt food truck. Yeah. I like that. I at first I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. And I'm like, you know what? No, this is like exactly like any of these type of stories where you see people that try to get out of like the business of whatever they're good at, like this guy. And that was what was great about that scene when they tried to mess with them. And they're like trying to like adopt his food truck for like their business dealings, and then like he just busts out that gun. That was a great scene. Like, so I like how they're like, let's go get some actual food, not this disgusting.
Yeah, I did like that when they're sitting in the car talking about it, and you don't realize that truck is coming up.
Yeah.
In every panel, it's getting closer and closer until it smashes. And I have to look back and go, oh, that was this truck coming up on them.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was fun. What'd you give this?
I'll give this a 4. That was a fun issue.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, the more I talk about it, it was fun. Skinbreaker number 5.
Yeah, they got to do something with this story here. Enough with this power struggle. I know a knock or whatever, and then he's floating out in I guess he's been exiled, or he's just kind of living in the sidelines, but still sort of protecting his tribe, and the new chieftain. It seems like they're trying to go back to their old ways, and their old ways aren't that great for tribal life. All the gatherers seem to be hungry and not getting food, and it's the hunters that seem to be living the life, even when they're not, and even though they're not producing, they still take all the food from the gatherers because they need to be strong to protect them. And then what happens? Then they do end up kind of finally catching one of those, I don't know, whatever those freaking monsters are. So they're having their big feast, and it seems like that Anak character almost led that hunt to them. And then more of those freaking things now are attacking them, and that Anak character saves the chieftain. And isn't the chieftain's father that's the one that he wanted to go with?
So the new chieftain is the son of the guy that messed with the dude that's out in the wilderness here previously. Yeah, so he saves him at the end of this issue, and he's kind of like, well, no, I'm not going to go after him. He just saved my life. And then he was the one that was pushing him like, no, you have to take him out. He's messing with your leadership or whatever. And then, he, at the end, he basically gets like a search party together to go out and find this guy and take him out once and for all.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, with this guy's like lookouts and the horn method and like the way that he can chuck spears from like up on like those ledges, those are all things that he invented for the purpose of taking these things out. And meanwhile, this guy's like they're brawling with them like the old school way, and they lose a lot of their tribal members as a result. People get killed in this issue, and again, you're right, like it is kind of still pushing home the whole idea of this kind of two different ways of looking of going about things. Nothing is new there because they're kind of just like further exploring that kind of idea in this.
Yeah, I feel like the end game here is going to be a decision of that chieftain to kind of, live with the new ways where the tribe was prospering, or at least safer, or stick with the old ways where freaking everybody, it's a class where there's rich and there's poor.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be breaking any new ground. I think you're right. Like that is ultimately where we're headed with this. Again, I think the biggest highlight about this series still is the art. And we only got 3 more issues of it. So like, I'm not mad at it. I think this is a solid story. I don't think they're shocking us by anything that's happening here, but it's pretty basic, but the art's the highlight, I think, overall.
Yeah.
So what'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.75. There's definitely no Tyler Robert Kirkman freaking twist at the last page. We're like, oh my God, what's happening here?
No, it's definitely a more like, basic approach here to the storytelling. Like he has an idea clearly for what this was.
Yeah.
And if it is only eight issues when it's all said and done, again, because I guess the detail that went into this artwork, like he's not like he's going to be keeping up with like a monthly schedule here. It's also different for him because Robert Kirkman usually writes a lot longer of series, right? So I think it's something new in that sense, and maybe that's why it's such a has that usual Robert Kirkman kind of like flair, like or like the endings, and he's not really he's very straight shooter on this one. You know what? I still like it though with the art. I'll give it a 4, but yeah. Wrestle Heist number 2.
Yeah, this one's working along here. We got I forgot what the blonde guy's name is, but we got Gravedigger and I guess the main character, I forget what his name is. Their plan is to rob the Paul. I guess you could call him Paul Heyman. I don't know what their names are. Kind of see who. Like this definitely has to be Paul Heyman, like with that ponytail and the bald head, and being a prick all the time.
Did you notice how this guy's like dome? It looks like a butthole. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that was drawn purposely like that. I'm like, that's hilarious. I don't know. It just looked like an asshole guy. Yeah. And it's this guy's like arena.
Yeah, and I guess they're putting together a team to try and steal, the profits of their WrestleMania there, and Then we have that new character, the 8 Ball, Ocha Ballo or something. He's like a high field acrobat there, but then he's got a broken leg, so they're gonna bring his son in here, and then his son's a bit of
Cokehead.
a bit of a wild card. But they're telling him, look, we can rob this place, and they find out that the money isn't stored in the arena. There's an underground tunnel that goes to his penthouse, so that kind of messes up their plans. And then near the end, they're kind of just lurking around the arena, and they run into Paul Heyman and his goons, and
Yeah.
they kind of give them the boots. He's like, "You better get out of here." And yeah, we'll see where it goes. It's a fun story that has kind of wrestling sort of, or WWE, or just the pro wrestler flares or tastes of them, but in a total different light. It's not like a wrestling story.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this definitely has it's like part wrestling story, parts like Ocean's 11 type of deal going on here. They're still kind of getting the team together in this issue, which I'm a huge fan of. Yeah. But Kyle Starks is just really good at implementing moments where you feel like this is going to be basic and that you'll see everything coming, but you don't, because again, just like having the twist of the kid being a cokehead in this was interesting. Having Paul Heyman basically see them scoping out the place. I did not expect that to happen, where he's like, yeah, you got another thing coming. You think you're going to take me down? The fact that he's already sussed them out, outside the ring. I thought that was pretty fun. Just fun stuff. I like it. And, his cartoony art, because Kyle Starks is writing and drawing this, works for the type of story that he's doing here. This is not necessarily.
I don't mind it one bit.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. What'd you give this?
I got a 4. It's fun. It's a fun issue.
Yeah, same. 4 out of 5. I actually like this issue more than I like the first issue, even, I would say. Next up, we got Sorcerer Supreme number 2.
Yeah, I might have to do some panels here. We got Wanda and Agatha Harkness.
That's pretty much the main takeaway from this issue, is that these two are going at it. And she also tries to take over the Sanctum Sanctorum at one point, and Wong fights her back because she tries to come into there and basically say that she's got the Vishanti on her side and they don't want her as a Sorcerer Supreme. And Wong basically throws it in her face that they've been wrong before. So it's just a lot of magic dealing and magic people fighting each other, but I don't think this story for me is on for this world as well. I it's fine, but I think I'm gonna tap out of this one as well.
Yeah, I'm not enthralled with the mix of characters. I'm not big on Wanda being the Sorcerer Supreme without Doctor Strange being there. Exactly. When Doctor Strange is there, there's always some Avengers in the mix or something like that, but there's none of that here. No. You can't draw on anybody else. It's a very isolated story with characters that I don't have much affinity for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, clearly, there is some Doctor Strange people still in the mix with Wong there, and Bats, his dog, the ghost dog, and all these other people. Well, actually, Bats was already a character in this book as well. I think the Sorcerers, whatever the Scarlet Witch series was previous to this, I think he ended up over there because Doctor Strange has been off doing the Asgard thing lately. They kind of adopted that character, it seems like. But again, it all connects in the sense that they take place within the same world, and these are other magic characters. But like you said, it doesn't hold as much weight for me. I'm not as interested in the exploits of these characters as opposed to Doctor Strange or even Clea, for that matter, honestly. I'm less interested in Scarlet Witch, Wanda, as the main focus of this book. I do think it makes sense. She should be this. I mean, it makes sense that she would be the Sorcerer Supreme for once here, but it's just and I like that it's not coming easy as well. But that all being said, I'm just not as interested. So I might jump off with this issue. It was okay. What'd you give this?
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, same. And then finally, Infernal Hulk number 3, Chris.
Yeah, this issue starts out with a warning. Whenever they have that warning at the beginning, if you have any sort of suicidal thoughts or you need to reach out for help, there's some helpline at the beginning of a comic. I go, oh, something big's going on in this issue. And here, I guess it starts out with a lot of, whatever the Elder is up to with his Hulk powers, and he's just, causing havoc out in the real world. But then it sort of focuses in on Bruce and Betty and sort of where they are and mostly, like I guess Betty lost her harpy powers, and Bruce isn't the Hulk anymore, and they're just kind of trying to live like pretty much the American dream. There's in suburban America, or what are they, Muncie, Indiana, or something like that, and just I guess I think they work in a high school, and they're really not doing much. But it seems like this normal, 9 to 5 sort of day for Betty Brand, or Betty, not Betty Brand. What's her? Anyways, for Betty isn't really kind of hanging in there. She's missing the powers that she used to have, and she's not kind of handling this well. And even Bruce, I guess he's having some sort of flashbacks. And then this story alone would be fine, but now we have the Avengers showing up, and at least that kind of brings that a bit of continuity in the whole world there. That this isn't just sort of a Hulk story that's just happening in their part of the world or part of the comics, and nobody else is aware of it. Having a Hulk take over the army or blow up an army and build his own city should bring the freaking should bring it to the attention of the Avengers. They kind of show up, they're asking Bruce what's happening, and he kind of fills them in. He goes, "I'm not the Hulk anymore." And he goes, "Well, if you got a Hulk in you, you better bring him out, because we got trouble ahead." And Bruce is like, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with this." And then you find out, I think, that there's one of the people in the story, her son is in the army, trying to stand up against this Elder Hulk, and this Hulk just freaking decimated this whole troop, and now that this story is starting to hit home, and I guess they're kind of going into that with great power comes great responsibility story here. So maybe this might change Bruce's mind, and you might have to find out how he can become the Hulk again.
Yeah, this has been great so far. I like the scenes with like her having like a mental breakdown. Like she clearly has like some like PTSD almost from her experience as the Harpy and not having that power anymore. Betty Ross, that's who it is. So Betty Brandt's
Betty Brant, the bugle.
Yeah. But yeah, just like realizing that she's human and she's not who she used to be, and having that attachment to that person and not being that person, and like becoming like a normal human with like the 9 to 5 situation that they're in now. And then even like how interesting it is with Bruce kind of them coming to him and saying like, look at what's going on, and you're not going to do anything about it. Basically calling him selfish and a coward and shit like this. Like again, like he's like, what? I don't deserve to have this regular 9 to 5 like life. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not that person. Like so like, I liked that moment. Like he was kind of like, screw you guys. Like, right. But like you said, like there's all this weight of responsibility hanging over him at this point to do something about it, because he goes to work at the end of this, and then on the TV you see all the destruction that's been made way by this new Hulk god or whatever's taking him over. And yeah, you're right, he does feel a sense of responsibility now, because it's really affecting people around him, and people are dying. I think somebody died or something from work or something there. I think they talked about, or that they knew somebody that had died as a result of what happened with the Hulk. So, this whole relaunch has been great so far of this Inferno Hulk. It's one of the most interesting Marvel books coming out right now. I got to say, I'm really enjoying the current direction of this story. So we'll see what happens. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 4. Good stuff.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 as well. All right, that's going to do it for this week. Chris, what are you looking forward to reading next week, February 4th?
Let me pull it up here. Okay, so the week of February 4th, out of Marvel, we have Ultimate Wolverine, number 14, Amazing Spider-Man 21, Ultimate Endgame 2. I'll probably be just reading reading Uncanny X-Men 23, Avengers 35. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I'm getting Wolverine 15. We got Alpha Flight showing up in there. I'll see what's going on with the Magic and Colossus. I think that might be it for Marvel. And out of DC, Absolute Superman 16, Batman 6. I saw some previews of that. I'm looking forward to that. I think there's a lot of panels with Batman and that scientist, or at least Bruce and that scientist kind of
Yeah.
sitting down and talking about what just happened. DCKO Night Fight 4, boss battle number 1. I'm looking for that. Should be a fun issue.
Yeah, can't wait.
See, that might be it by. That might be it for DC. Is Image got anything for me next week? Not much. Maybe I'll read Scorched and Spawn, see what's going in there, but who knows? They've been sitting on 48, 49. I think Scorch has been way behind lately.
I think I pre-ordered issue 50 because Todd McFarlane drew a cover for it with like.
Yeah, I did. I think that was like the solicitation like 4 months ago.
Yeah, I did pre-order that one because he did cover for that one, and I liked it. It was like,
oh, but in this week's comics, did you read any of the previews of that Nice House by the Lake or something?
I read the first trade of that story.
Oh, you know what it's about, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I read the preview, but there's really nothing in there that really wanted me to jump into that story.
Well, it's also
I hear a lot of good things about it.
It's good, but it's also the middle of the story. Also, you got to understand this is the second mini series that he's come out with, because the first one was Nice House on the Lake, and now it's Nice House on or whatever,
nice the sea, or who knows.
Yeah, sea. That's it. Yeah, so like it is really good. It's another James Tynion book that's really good, but I think it's one of those things where it reads better as a whole, like in a trade.
Yeah, I put out a hook. There's no hook in that preview.
No. Yeah, okay, so Absolute Superman 16, I'm reading that and picking up Batman 6. Batgirl 16, I might read. I don't know. DCKO Boss Battle, I'm picking that up. DCKO Night Fight, I'll read that. GSA 16, I'll read. What else? Amazing Spider-Man, picking that up. Avengers 35, I'll read that. Maybe I'll check out this Godzilla Infinity Roar. I think he's going into space now. Magic and Colossus. Also, there's a Storm #1 next week, who I think it's written by the same person, but it's not drawn by Lucas Wernick, unfortunately. But so I might check that out. Ultimate Endgame I'm picking up. Ultimate Wolverine I'm picking up. And yeah, Wolverine 15 I'll probably read. So yeah, not too bad. These, mixed week of releases, it seems like next week, but not a lot to talk too much to talk about. All right, Chris, what was your favorite book of the week?
I think I might have to get into Infernal Hulk. I did enjoy that story.
Nice. That's probably my runner-up, but for the first week in January of the new year, guys, me and Chris are finally going to pick something different because we've been on this hot streak of 3 in a row. I could have easily went with Hulk as well, but, I am going to give the edge to Absolute Batman. I really enjoyed it this week, too, and I think the Dragata art is what kind of that took it there for me over the Hulk, but because Nick Klein, Kevin Walker drew the Hulk issue this time, was good too, but Nick Klein didn't draw most of the issue because he only drew a couple of pages at the end, or else I probably would have given it to the Hulk. But I'll go with Dragata and Absolute Batman number 16 here for my favorite of the week. Close week.
Told me that a big splash page. If there's a page in there that just wowed me, maybe it could have got me. But the story's good. It's still a great comic.
Hulk's great too. Yeah, so both good picks there. I was about to say, if we both went with the same one once again, I was about to say either something's going on with these weeks haven't been all too crazy so far to start out the new year. I was about to say it's either an issue with what we've been reading that we're picking the same always, or just like we finally are in tune with like our interests, where we're just like, yeah, this was because that's I feel like the longest streak I feel like we've ever had, like 3 weeks in a row. It's been a while since we had one of those. But some other good stuff too. Punisher Red Man this week was good. There's some decent stuff that came out.
That could be in the mix.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure to tune in next week, as always, for another week of comics. Make sure to like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you to Chris. And we'll see you next time. Later, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.